Welcome to Venoge Cottage. I'm Mrs. Weaver.
And I'm Mrs. Willard.
And we love to cook. We'll cook anything within reason.
Today's culinary adventure:
calf's foot jelly.
Let's meet our cast of ingredients.
3 pairs calf's feet, 1 cup sugar, 2 cups port, 3 lemons, 5 eggs.
Are you ready to begin, Mrs. Willard?
I am.
This delightful recipe uses some very unlikely ingredients. To begin, bring a kettle of about 1 gallon of water to a boil. Make sure your fire is hot and steady. Add the calf's feet and return to the fire. The feet boil until they are cooked, generally about 3 full hours, and until the water is reduced to about half.
Place a strainer or colander over a large bowl. Remove the kettle from the fire. Remove the feet from the kettle, placing them in the strainer. Empty the remaining contents of the kettle into the strainer. Retain the liquid.
Give the bones to the dog.
Now, Mrs. Willard, we wait for it to cool.
I'll pour the wine.
The mixture now needs to cool. The fat will have risen to the top and solidified. The gelatin has solidified below this. The fat needs to be removed. Gently scrape the fat from the gelatin. Some fat will remain. You can remove it with a hot, wet cotton or linen rag. Gently daub the rag on the gelatin. You'll be surprised how fast that remaining fat is removed. Use a clean spoon to put the gelatin into the kettle. Return it to the fire. An important tip: be sure your fire has a good bed of coals. No need for a roaring fire for this step. Now to find someone to wash the dishes. Once the gelatin returns to its liquid state, remove the kettle from the fire. As the kettle is hot, be sure you have some insulating surface between the kettle and the table. We used our cutting board. If people knew the main ingredient was hooves, they might reject this dish before their first bite. To help counter that, let's add some flavor. Grate 3 lemons over the liquid gelatin.
Let's add a little more flavor with sugar and the juice of these lemons. To get the most juice out of your lemons, roll them on a hard surface first. Firmly squeeze the lemons, releasing the juices. Separate any seeds. Add lemon juice to the gelatin. Follow that with sugar.
Thank you, Mrs. Weaver.
You're welcome, Mrs. Willard. May I take the lemons?
Oh, yes, please.
Thank you.
Some people want to know which came first, chicken or the egg. In this case, it's the egg whites. We don't use the yolks in this recipe. Guess the yolk's on us. The whites of those 5 eggs will not do us any good in their present state. They need to be whipped into peaks. Some recipes say to whip until your arm gives out.
Next, crush the eggshells. Add these to the mixture. Follow that with the egg whites. This seemingly strange step clarifies or clears the gelatin by attracting the grease and the sediment. Fold in the egg whites.
Now for the finishing ingredient. The recipe calls for raisin wine. We prefer tawny port. Add port or raisin wine to the liquid and mix. Set the kettle on the fire, but don't stir the jelly until after it begins to warm. Once the egg whites rise to the surface, if you're using a hearth as we are, cover your kettle to prevent ash from getting into the mixture. Then let it boil for 20 minutes.
To finish the next step, you'll need a ladle,
and glasses or molds in which to put the jelly. Most importantly, you'll need a pudding cloth.
We're ready, Mrs. Willard.
Concerning your pudding cloth, be sure to wet it. This helps reduce waste of the liquid. You'll notice we didn't. Blame it on the imperial punch.
Got that side?
Strain the mixture through the cloth. Take the cloth and twist it, squeezing the liquid into the bowl. Be sure none of the sediment in the pudding cloth gets into the liquid. Pour into the serving cups and allow the mixture to cool and gel.
A nice finishing touch would be to add a dollop of whipped cream and maybe some grated nutmeg.
Another success, Mrs. Willard.
Until our next culinary adventure,
We'll see you in the kitchen.
Actual time to make, 4 to 5 hours. Find the recipe for Imperial Punch in episode 4 of Julep's Songs and Jacob's Punch.
What does it smell like?
tennis shoes.